for an update on the outbreak and said he is working on additional protocols in the U.S. to contain this virus. But despite several requests, the White House press secretary Josh Earnest confirmed today the administration is not considering a travel ban because of the Ebola outbreak. To put it all into perspective, Sean, we should be reminded just how very deadly this virus can be. In West Africa, in Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and Senegal, combined, the death toll now stands at 3,439. That's out of 7,500 cases. So, Sean, we're going to continue to stay on this story and monitor the outbreak worldwide and then hope that it is contained here at home at least.
All right,
Sean?
Ainsley, very chilling report. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And now that Ebola is in the United States, can the American people trust the government to contain this? Now, NBC News host Chuck Todd pressed White House advisor Dan Pfeiffer about exactly that very question on Meet the Press yesterday. Take a look.
Why should we trust that what you're saying about the CDC is able to handle this? I mean, you understand why there's more skepticism than normal.
Look, I do understand that people have been skeptical of growing skepticism of institutions for a long time, including government. But people should know that that every one of the situations you mentioned where a problem arises, we deal with it. We deal with it quickly. We deal with it forcefully to make sure it doesn't happen.
There always is a good reaction. Ebola needs to be pro-action.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing, which is why the only way to deal with this is to stop it at its source, which is why we're deploying up to around 3,000 troops there to bring to bear the best.
That's enough. We can have more.
That is what the Pentagon believes we need right now, and we'll constantly evaluate that.
All right, here to tell us if we can trust the government's handling of Ebola from the Fox News medical aid team, Dr. Mark Siegel, and also joining us is Dr. Gil Mobley is with us. All right, you went through Hartsfield Airport, Dr. Mobley, in Atlanta. Full bioprotection gear, goggles, written on the back, the CDC is lying. You think this is far worse than the government is telling us?
Either they're lying, Sean, or they're grossly incompetent. Mathematical numbers have shown, statistics, that the chances were overwhelmingly that we would be importing Ebola to the United States by the end of October. Yet the president was saying there's a very small chance just a week before the first patient came. And it just makes sense that as 1 million people are in quarantine on the continent of Africa right now for Ebola, and 10,000 people leave that continent a day, the whole world will be seeded eventually with this. And my concern is, once it gets into Guatemala City and Mexico City, the CDC is not going to be sending planes in to take care of it.
Do you think America could be overwhelmed with Ebola?
Absolutely.
You believe that?
Yes, sir. It's going to consume every third world country on the planet. They have a devastated health infrastructure from years of conflict. They have deplorable sanitation and distrust of the government. The same perfect storm is going to consume every third world country like this Africa. At that time, we'll be importing Ebola on an hourly basis.
Well, Americans should be concerned. You're saying that this is coming to a community near us? Is that what you're saying?
I believe it. It's inevitable. It seems to be just absolutely inevitable.
That's a chilling prognosis.
You know, we live next door to one of the biggest third world countries in the world, and the doors are wide open.
There's a part of me that doesn't trust the government. As the doctor's saying here, they can't even put a website together. Dr. Siegel, as you know, we're not going to keep our plans. We're not going to save money and keep our doctors. That's another lie. Social Security never had a lockbox. So I think there's a natural distrust. Why not even have a travel ban and our borders aren't secure? Those two things alone tell me we're not being smart and prudent here.
Let me go over this for you. First of all, it's clear to me that the president and the U.S. government was late to the game here. That months ago they knew about the Ebola epidemic in West Africa, and now they're first bringing the military in. The military should have been brought in months ago. The military is adept at controlling emerging contagions. That's number one. Number two, I'm also concerned that President Obama is attaching himself to the problem now. You know, and that may be for political gain, because after all, how many other things is going wrong? But let's talk about the science of this for a second. There's about, maybe, if it's underreported, somewhere between 10 and 20,000 cases right now in West Africa. There's over 100,000 cases of Lassa fever every year. That's a cousin of Ebola, and we're not seeing the kind of problems with Lassa that Dr. Mobley, with all due respect, is talking about with Ebola. What do we need to do about Ebola? We have to go over there. We need resources from all over the world. We need more and more and more.
You think he's overstating the problem, or potential of the problem?
Well, but he could make the problem worse. When you talk about travel bans, here's what we need. We need heavy screening. I think of...
But a travel ban, think of this. Air France, France did it.
Okay.
England did it. The Saudis have done it. And I would suspect Spain is not long to follow.
Granted, but I look at Ebola as a medical terrorist. In other words, we need to look at someone coming into an airport and saying, could they be that terrorist? Could they have Ebola? Let's take their temperature here in the United States. Let's put them aside and give them a big questionnaire.
But what if they just swallowed a bottle of Tylenol or something to reduce their temperature?
But Sean, okay, fair enough. But if we cut off the borders there's going to be panic. There's going to be widespread panic, and when people panic, they spread more disease.
England did it, and the Saudis did it. Dr. Mobley, you want to respond to that?
I think there's a compromise. We can get the personnel, the equipment in with military craft and cut out all non-essential travel. That will allow us to possibly contain it. But already the horse is out of the barn. It's already spread person to person in Spain. The nurse taking care of the priest has already got it.
This is a very hard virus to spread. With one case in the United States, we should not cut off all air travel, but we should heavily restrict it. At some point, if he cuts off air travel now, we're never going to have...
We got to run. Quick response.
Ask the cameraman how easy it is to get.
We don't know what the cameraman was exposed to. They don't
That's exactly right. We have no idea.
They don't use toilet paper in West Africa.
Ask the cameraman.
So if you shake somebody's hand...
Ask the first doctor that came to Emory University. He was fascinated.
We don't need widespread panic here. We don't need it there.
We need the truth. And the truth is we've been expecting...
We need science.
And Obama and the CDC says if we get it...
By the way, if you were listening to NBC News, they're saying imposing a travel ban on Ebola country would be racist, which is silly.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like start by restricting.
Guys, fascinating debate. Good to have you both. Appreciate it. Coming up, all right, the midterm elections are less than a month away. Bill Hemmer, he's back at the Hannity Big Board to break down